Hi everyone, welcome back to Life in Spite Of. I'm Sean. Today's video I want to talk about my Meniere's disease and the journey that I've recently gone through. It's going to be very difficult to sum it up, but I want to tell you this story because it not only applies to folks who are struggling specifically with Meniere's disease, but also potentially with many different ailments or many different challenges in our life. It could be relationships, it could be health issues, a myriad of different health issues. It could be life circumstances or just situations or work, or all these things can be very, very overwhelming and difficult. And the purpose of what I'm doing here, why I'm sharing my journey, and also providing some hope is you can live your life in spite of all of these challenges. So let me share my story first and we'll get into all the other stuff. So first things first, I was diagnosed with Meniere's disease. It really changed my life. It is, for those of you who don't know what it is, I mentioned it in the last video, but basically it's an inner ear disorder. The medical community is not 100%. They think they know what the causes are. There's a couple different ideas, but primarily they know that it affects the inner ear. How it's diagnosed, for those of you who are not sure, it's really, you need to, please do not ever self-diagnose. I would recommend that you go to start with a primary care physician or ear, nose, and throat specialist. You go and they're going to give you a number of diagnostic tests to make sure that there's nothing physiologically wrong with you or the inner ear. There's ciliary problems, or maybe there's a whole host of different things, an acoustic neuroma. There's lots of things that can be very, very serious, but follow a separate protocol in terms of treatment of the symptoms and treatment of the disease. But regardless, you get these diagnoses, or you get these diagnostic tests, and then they marry the diagnostic test to the outcome of those with specific symptoms. Now, Meniere's can include many different symptoms, but your traditional, there's a number of quintessential Meniere's disease symptoms that most people experience, and they can include ear fullness, tinnitus or tinnitus, ringing in the ear at different frequencies. There can be vertigo, dizziness that comes with it. Sometimes you feel like you're rocking on a boat, sometimes you're just spinning. There can be pressure that comes with it. There can be a number of different symptoms, and to be honest with you, I've experienced, if not one, pretty much all of them at different times, sometimes all at the same time. It can be overwhelming, it can be very difficult, and I think the worst part, there were two really, really challenging things for me, in addition to the symptoms, but the two hardest things was, number one, the feeling of fear when I was diagnosed. I started doing my own research, as I do, as many people do, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I was going on blogs, I was doing research, I was looking at all the recent information surrounding Meniere's disease, and a lot of it was extremely negative. The blogs that I was on were just, your life is over and you're done, and it was so frightening to me. And the second thing that was the hardest thing for me was isolationism. I have two beautiful children, I have a beautiful wife, and they were always around me, and it was so supportive and fantastic and amazing. I couldn't be luckier in that way. But they didn't understand what I was going through. I mean, one of the worst things for me, and what I can understand, is in Meniere's disease, you look fine. You don't look sick. But there are times you can't walk. You don't look sick, but there are times you can't hear or walk or function at all. You can't hear any noise, and it just goes on, and it can just be very isolating. Again, I started doing some research, looking at it, and there was a lot of negativity that came from it. I decided to make a change and focus on the positive. Find a way to live my life in spite of the challenges, in spite of the symptoms. The doctors that I've had, your traditional medicinal approach, your primary care physician, ear, nose, and throat specialist, a neurootologist that focus on the inner ear-brain correlation or connection. I have nothing but good, amazing reviews and results from those doctors. But the traditional medicinal community focuses on the treatment of symptoms because it's not 100% what the cause is. So it's very obviously difficult to treat the cause if you don't really know what causes something. So it's pretty much symptom treatment with lots of different medications. And at one point I was on like 7, 8 different medications, once in the morning, once at night. Sometimes I had to take some in the afternoon, and it really became overwhelming. I needed to find another way. I needed to live my life in spite of my Meniere's disease, and I found a way. For me personally, let me be clear, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a healthcare professional by any means. I'm an educator by profession. I found the one thing that works for me, and really was a game changer, was upper cervical chiropractic care. I am not pushing upper cervical chiropractic care exclusively. The reason why I say that is because there's all these different symptoms of Meniere's disease. It could be anything that can help you as opposed to me, but I can simply just share with you what saved my life. Nothing short of just completely upper cervical chiropractic care saved my life. In the next few videos, I'll talk about how it works and what it is and what actually the experience was, but the game changer for me was that, and it opened up the doors. And I I leverage chiropractic care, or the upper cervical specific chiropractic care, with my other doctors, with my physicians, with my ear, nose, and throat specialists, with these others. So I'm marrying these two to really treat my symptoms and put me in a good place so that I can live my life in spite of the challenges that I have. Some days are good, some days not so good, some days are very challenging, but most days, I'll be completely honest with you, are nothing but amazing. And I'm just so grateful for everything that's happening in my life. So I just wanted to share a little bit of that story with you. So once again, I'll see you next time in another video. But until then, thank you so much for your time.